Hello guys, business owners, entrepreneurs, welcome to My Hero VA. And in this video, we're going to be going over how to actually hire a virtual assistant. Let's get this pen going here. And we're going to break this down on how to do this in just 8 easy steps. All right, scrolling down onto step number 1. And step number 1 is first knowing where to actually hire from. To hire VAs, you're going to want to go to My Hero VA right here. You can also type in My Hero Virtual Assistant at the time of this recording. This is the place where you're going to get your VAs. Why are you going to get your VAs here? Well, they're all from Latin America, right? So they're bilingual, they're fluent in English, they're fluent in Spanish. The prices are equivalent to those from Asia and also the prices of workers in India. There's no middleman here, and there's a monthly subscription. You get A-plus workers. You can get part-time, full-time, gig, etc. It's just the best place on the marketplace to get virtual assistants. So that's the first thing to know of where to actually get a virtual assistant. The second step to hire a virtual assistant is to figure out, do you want full-time, part-time, or gig, right? These are the things that sites like an Upwork or a Fiverr really lack. Things that we want to figure out as business owners is, okay, do I want a worker that goes part-time, full-time, or gig? What I do and what I do with a couple of my businesses is I don't typically do gig work, but I might do something like if I'm looking at this individual here, I might hire them part-time, even though they have 40 hours right here, even though that's full-time. But I might hire them part-time for 20 hours, see how their work is kind of on a contractual basis, and then kind of like how this individual is looking for full-time. I might promote them to full-time once a week or 2 or 3 or a month has passed and we've kind of established a good working relationship together. So establish that, and that's kind of how I would go about doing that. Step number 3 to hire a great virtual assistant is to use a hidden word in your job descriptions. When virtual assistants apply to your jobs that you make on My Hero VA, you'll get a message like this. And you'll see right here says sales experience. What you can do to weed out a lot of individuals, because what a lot of individuals will do is just copy and then paste, copy, paste, and that's how they apply to jobs. You don't want the individuals who are doing that because they're not showing the effort that they're interested in your jobs. How do we combat that? For me, when I go to post a job, I can post my job, and if here's the job description, right, there might be a keyword right here where I might say something like, hey, if you're reading this job description, make sure in your subject line, which is right there, right, in your subject line, put the word egg or put the word blueberry or whatever. So if this individual read through my entire job description, it would be sales experience dash egg, or it would just say egg, right? This will weed out 90 to 95% of the individuals who will always copy and paste and who will waste your time trying to interview them. That's the first big step that you can take whenever you are posting jobs to weed people out, is to have that hidden word. And if people don't include that hidden word in their subject line, skip them altogether. Don't even go through their resume or their application. And the reason being is because these are people who don't read through details, and you don't want somebody like that as a virtual assistant. Now, the fourth step to hire a great virtual assistant is to ask for a portfolio of work or prior results. Going off of this example here with this guy, you can see he's a sales guy. I can't really ask for a portfolio, kind of like if he was a graphic designer. Sure, that's easy to see a portfolio. Something like sales, though, you can't really see a portfolio. So this is where you would have to dive into his prior work. Ask him, do you have any screenshots of your CRM and your deals that you can share without any proprietary business knowledge from your past employers? Someone like a Facebook ads manager, right? They might not have a portfolio of work, but if you can get a screenshot of a dashboard that says like, hey, here was our click-through rate, here was our ROAS, that's valuable information to see. Now, if you can't actually see that information, like sales is kind of tough on that, then just ask for prior experience and prior results, and then move on from there. On to the fifth step of how to hire a great virtual assistant, and that is to give a mini test. Come back over here. Let's just keep playing with this sales role here. So this guy, he works in sales. What would a mini test look like in this example? Well, maybe you can walk him through something like a sales scenario, right? Just to see how he thinks about the situation. So walk him through a couple scenarios with your company and be like, okay, client A is trying to work on this. How can they do this, or how can you close them if their objection is this? And then play around with a couple of those and see what their responses would be. Or if they have a portfolio of work, they might be able to give you more concrete examples. And with mini tests, you want them to be quick, especially if people are making them. So for graphic design, maybe like one social media post, like 1080 by 1080. Or if it's video editing, maybe one quick story post that's like 5 seconds long. You don't want them to put too much effort into it, because that's not really fair. You can't have them make a 20-minute long podcast video, because that's not fair at all. And the majority of people aren't going to do that, and they shouldn't. But if it's like a graphic design that'll take like 5-10 minutes, or a call to see how they handle sales objections, yes, most people should do that. And if they don't do that, take that as a sign that they're not moving on to the next round of your actual interviews. On to the sixth step of how to hire a virtual assistant, if I could write the number 6, and that is to actually hop on a video chat. Now, this is pretty self-explanatory. You should be doing this for everybody before you hire them to make sure everything's all good. They're a real human being. You guys jive together. The communication is good, and you can move forward from there. On to the 7th step of how to hire a great virtual assistant, and that is to decide on a start date and then onboard them. A good start date, you might say, okay, you can start next week, or you can start in 2 weeks, right? You don't want to make it too long of a time frame, but also you don't want to be like, all right, can you start tomorrow, right? That's kind of too quick, and you want to make sure you're giving enough time to adequately onboard them. Now, what does this mean? This is getting them into things like Google Drive, things like Microsoft Teams, or all of the softwares that you need, and have them signing and filling out any documentation that you need. So for example, onboarding might be something like, if I were to hire Luis right here, right? He says he takes Zelle, and then he says he takes PayPal. Maybe our company pays through Wise, and we have to figure out how to get him set up with Wise, right? That would be a part of the onboarding phase, and that should all be documented via PDFs and submitted to your company Google Drive, or wherever you keep your documents, like Dropbox and such. On to the 8th and final step of how to hire a great VA, and that's basically they work, you pay, in that exact order, not flipped around. It's never you pay and then they work, never ever. They work just like normal workers everywhere, and then once the work is complete, you pay. Why do we do it this way? This is to keep everyone safe. It's the way every company does it. Do not have virtual assistants convince you to pay them first and then they work, because you're going to get scammed. They work and then you pay. And just like our example up here, all of the virtual assistants on My Hero VA say like, hey, I take PayPal. Hey, I take PayPal and Zelle. Maybe some might be able to set up a Wise account or things like that. Just make sure they're onboarded correctly. You have all of their payment information up to date, so then everything goes smooth when they actually get the work done, and then you pay them. And that is how, step by step, you successfully hire your VA. Where to get them? My Hero VA. Figure out if you're going full-time, part-time, or gig for whatever role you're working on. Put a hidden word in the description to weed out the mass majority of applicants. Get a portfolio or prior results, actionable, like tangible data and results to weed out more people. Give them a mini test to really get it down to 1 to 3 people. Have a video chat or have them send you a Loom video, whatever you prefer. Figure out a start date and then onboard the 1 or 2 people that you chose, and then they work and then you pay. And those are all 8 steps of how to hire a great virtual assistant.